Today, the U.S. Treasury cracks down on crypto wallets tied to North Korean ballistic missile development. Elon Musk warns that investors shouldn't bet their life savings on Dogecoin. And the CEO of Hashnote explains the sentiment in the crypto market as prices fall. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Tanea McKeel. Digital currencies are back in the red this morning as the U.S. debt ceiling drama continues and global economies continue the fight against inflation. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin fell back below the $27,000 level. Ether was under the $1,800 mark, and Solana fell to around $19. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. First up, the U.S. Treasury is cracking down on wallets it says funded North Korean development of weapons of mass destruction and ballistic missiles. The Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, or OFAC, announced new sanctions against North Korean national Kim Sang-man, who the agency claims was involved in the sale of IT equipment to the DPRK and received crypto funds valued at more than $2 million. Binance confirmed a CoinDesk report that those wallets were hosted by the exchange. In a statement, a Binance spokesperson said, "We can confirm that Binance took action against accounts connected to these individuals over a year ago in compliance with lawfully served warrants." They also said Binance has a policy of cooperation with all legal inquiries. Next, former SEC Chair Jay Clayton is giving his reaction to a new set of policy recommendations from a global securities watchdog. We told you about those recommendations from the International Organization of Securities Commissions yesterday, and they cover retail investor protections, KYC, AML, and more. Clayton took to CNBC's Squawk Box this morning, and here's what he had to say about those new recommendations and how regulators have handled crypto so far.
Crypto has not been handled well by the industry or frankly, by the regulators on a global basis. And that we've talked about is because it emerged globally and emerged outside the financial system. So what does this report say? It says financial instruments, whether they're classified as securities or commodities, that are going to touch the retail public, that are going to be part of our ecosystem, they need to be regulated as we know well. And it's really a principles-based report. It says, look, these are the principles that should apply around the globe. And they're pretty straightforward. They're ones we know. The report says, hey, regulators around the world, you need to apply this to digital assets.
Of course, lawmakers and regulators around the globe are racing to implement new crypto guidelines like MiCA in Europe and even new rules just passed in Japan to enforce stricter anti-money laundering practices, which will go into effect on June 1st. Finally, Elon Musk might be Dogecoin's biggest fan, but he doesn't think it's a new retirement plan. The world's second richest man told the Wall Street Journal's CEO Council Summit, quote, "I'm not advising anyone to buy crypto or bet the farm on Dogecoin." Although the Journal reports he still made it clear the meme token is his favorite because it has, quote, "the best humor and has dogs." Elon was apparently willing to bet Twitter on the cryptocurrency, though, after he briefly changed the social media network's logo to Doge a few weeks ago. All right, let's check in on markets for our main story. I spoke with Leo Mizuhara, CEO of Hashnote, to learn more about the drop in crypto prices this morning and to find out the crypto investing trends he's watching. I want to start with what's happening in the markets. What was happening in the markets this morning, some volatility right after the stock market opened, down as much as 4%, is what I saw on Bitcoin, and a similar looking drop in Ether. What do you think is driving the action this morning? I know that there has been a lot going on in terms of catalysts this year, and right now all attention is on the debt ceiling negotiations. What's happening?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think the debt ceiling negotiations are definitely the biggest macro driving factor. The movement at the open was a little bit less clear. Certainly, overnight we had some action from the Asian stock market. I think Bitcoin was following the Asian stock market to some extent, and then we had a move following the UK inflation print as well. And I think that some of the follow-on this afternoon, or rather this morning on the open, was kind of just follow-on to that, reacting to negative prints overnight.
Bitcoin has been behaving kind of differently this year. For most of 2022, it was trading in line with stocks, and then we saw its correlation with gold start to go higher and higher this year. And it seems like now, with attention on the Fed and the debt ceiling, it's sort of starting to behave like a stock again. At least the price is. Are you seeing the same thing? And how would you characterize it or compare it to another, asset that investors are familiar with today?
Yeah, I think that's right. It's Bitcoin and Ethereum are a very interesting asset class in that they go back and forth between being this, there's a narrative around it being a self-sovereign asset, right? An asset that is not tied to our financial system. And then at the same time, it's also a risk asset. I often think of Ethereum as a lot like the NASDAQ, where people are building so many new technologies on top of it, and there's like a cash flow element to that as well. So I think it makes sense that it goes back and forth. I think the narrative in Bitcoin is slightly different than the narrative in Ethereum, but they are very much lumped together in terms of this cryptocurrency asset class. Earlier this year, I think we saw them correlate more with gold and less with stocks, because the banking crisis that we had in March was really emphasizing the strengths of Bitcoin and why the Bitcoin narrative really exists at all, right? I think there were a lot of people who had a lot of consternation around the banking system as it is, and seeing both bank failures as well as seeing the government react in a way that was so anti-crypto, having multiple companies getting debanked during that time, I think really drove home the thesis for Bitcoin. And thus you saw a lot of cryptocurrencies go up in price and a lot of new adoption for a lot of that product as well.
Well, Bitcoin's really struggled to break above $30,000 all month, and every time it drops, it still hasn't dropped enough to really worry investors in a big way. So it's kind of stuck in this 25 to 30 range. But while that has been happening, there's been a lot of activity in altcoins, in meme coins. It is altcoin season, as they say. What are the biggest investment trends in crypto right now beyond the Bitcoin and Ether asset themselves that you're currently tracking?
Yeah, so I think everyone was watching this whole Pepe meme coin madness. Not really our space, but certainly something we track. It shows some of the congestion in the Ethereum ecosystem, which brings us to layer twos, right? Layer twos are a great scaling solution for Ethereum. And I think in particular, everyone is still very much watching and tracking the zero knowledge ecosystem. Zero knowledge layer twos are kind of the big new thing in the scaling space. So we expect that to continue to grow, and certainly something that Hashnote is watching as well. We are very much considering whether or not we should deploy on a layer two, and particularly a zero knowledge layer two. The other big thing to watch in this space, I think, is a lot of this identity product. So there's a lot of work under Ethereum as a identity network and the ability to attach an identity to a given wallet. And I think that is a big space coming up, because that allows us to have on-chain credit, for example, as well as on-chain social media and a lot of these other growth areas that we think of that are also related to an internet scale technology.
It's really interesting. Most of what I hear when it comes to the identity space is about Bitcoin, is about the opportunities that the Bitcoin network provides for that space. Do you have a stance on what is better, or what the bigger opportunity is for identity, Bitcoin versus Ethereum?
I mean, personally, I'm generally on the Ethereum builder side. I'm very much excited about what is getting built on Bitcoin now, particularly with ordinals and this new space of actual kind of technologies being built on top of Bitcoin, not just Bitcoin as a currency. I think a lot of the traditionalists, if we can call them that in this space at this point, think of Bitcoin as only a currency, and its ethos was previously to be only that and never to adulter that. So because of that, I've been more on the Ethereum side, because I think we can build a lot of things on top of this technology and make it really this internet scale network. But Bitcoin is definitely coming up that space, and we saw a lot of block demand in the Bitcoin space over the last few weeks. I'm very much hoping that continues. I'm quite bullish on that new front.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, so we'll see you then.